Welcome back to Pitch Please, or just welcome if it's the first time. I'll do that again. Welcome to
gold.
Pitch Please. My name's Alex, and I'm joined by developer Chris from Foggybox.
Hello.
Developer James from Catastrophic Overload.
Hello.
Thomas, the Ideas Engine.
Welcome back.
And regular contributor and games journalist,
Yeah.
Matthew Castle.
Hello.
Hello. All right, we've got a special one this year, or this episode. What's the official title for this, Tom?
It's
Game of the Year?
2021 Pitch Please Awards show.
Very good.
Wow.
Amazing.
We didn't even
Thanks for
rehearse
being
that.
No, that came out. That just straight from the pitch hole.
Right. Every episode that we've had this year, we're gonna go through them.
We're gonna rank them, and bank
We're gonna
them.
rank them,
Maybe
and
spank
then
them if they're shit.
bank. And then at the end, we'll have the best one. We're gonna have a game of the year of 2021. We've already done this last year.
We did, and I was going to ask: Are we comparing all of these to the winner of last year
Oh.
to make the Pitch Please game of ever?
Well,
Game
that's
of
what they
ever.
say.
I mean, we could do that.
Well, we can
We
do
could
that at
do
the
that.
end. We could put the two of them up against each other.
Oh,
That's
I like that.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
But I remember Matt was very adamant that he hated last year's winner.
No,
So
I was fine. I was fine. The last year's winner was the card game, right?
Mm-hmm.
it was.
Yeah, it was our own idea.
actually. I
As
thought it
long
was
as
a different
wasn't
one.
The,
I thought it was a
Battle
different
Royale
one.
is set in a sandstorm.
That was a good game. Okay. I
was-
mean, yeah, we won.
Right.
Last year we won, but yeah, we can
Yeah,
put
we gave it to
ourselves,
ourselves.
against whatever the winner of this year is. Whatever it may be. It'll be a surprise. I was surprised by last year's awards show. There was things I thought were going to get much further and didn't. They died
I was
instantly,
surprised.
and it
I
was
was-
a disgrace.
I was stunned that we had the gall to award ourselves the game of the year.
I think we stumbled into that. It was not our intent.
Yeah.
Turns out the winner of last year was the format of this show, but in cards.
But look, here we are. It just goes to show how great a format this is, right? And now
I mean,
we're going
2
to break
years
that
we've
format.
been doing this shit. 2 years.
It's mad when you
What
say
the
that.
hell?
I can't. So I had to go through. And look at all the episodes we've done this year, and just jog my memory because I can't remember. We've done a lot now. We've done a lot, and I'm sure some of them, if you go back right from episode 1, we've probably doubled up a little bit because we're only
most
human.
definitely.
We can't come up with completely original ideas every single time.
Whoa.
However,
Speak for yourself.
Maker of the castle
However,
verse.
I think some of these are pretty good going back, right? I'm pretty happy with the stuff that we've come out with, largely, on the whole.
Yeah, I think the quality of this year is higher than last year. Well, no,
Well, it's at least equal.
I take that back.
Maybe slightly below.
I feel like
but
it's a slow downward
It's a
curve,
ballpark.
but a very slow downward curve. We got another few years in us yet before we hit rock bottom.
20 more years. So the first pitch we had of this year was the title of it was James is Bond.
Oh,
Which
this was a me
Does anyone
pitch.
remember that? It was a you pitch, Tom.
A very rare
It's-
me pitch this year. Yeah, James
Can
is
you
Bond.
repitch it?
Yeah, so this was before we knew about Operation Tango. I feel like we recorded the episode, Operation Tango was announced, and then we released the episode, and we were like, "Oh shit!" Because it's very similar. Operation Tango being, one of you is a hacker, looking at the cameras, looking at documents and files, and breaking into computers and stuff, while the other guy is running around the building trying to avoid guards and robots and give information to the hacker so they can get through the level and, break out or whatever it is. James's Bond is, it's basically that, except the hacker in question isn't in the cyberverse, isn't in the internet or the mainframe of this building. They are outside in a van flicking switches and looking over the cameras, and I think it had a very it wasn't so cybery as Operation Tango. But I mean,
Cybery.
look, the first game that we pitched this year, basically exists. Now, I just want
Exists and is well received.
It's
right?
very good. I've played it multiple times. It's really good. So, I mean, it's real.
It's a good start, right?
It's real.
There was the one thing I remember we did have that, like, in addition to what Operation Tango has, was the possibility of having to drive the van at the same time.
Oh, you had to be the getaway driver as well, right?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't want to get
I can
detected.
understand.
You needed to keep moving, otherwise they would detect where your signal was coming from. So you had to keep moving.
Yeah.
Quite like that.
I also remember there was
I can understand why they've removed that.
a lot of minuscule management stuff as well. Like you had a battery meter that was slowly depleting and you had to swap batteries in. I feel like as a hacker, it was very manic because you had to... I think there was like almost like the phone lines where you connect power systems together, but you can't connect them all together. So if the guy in the building is like, I need you to turn this camera off, you're like, okay, shit, let me just recharge the battery and then move the power from here to here and then do this and this and this and this. And he's like, I think the guards are coming. You need to go now.
I would.
It was way more like, oh, Matthew, so go on.
I would never
let's just do
team
another
up
mark.
with a partner who had such a shambolic van. The idea of like, if the person outside messes up, I die inside this building. I know, I'll pick that guy who's got the famously shambolic van where he has to constantly change batteries and can only plug in 2 things at once. I'd just go with a better van. I would pay the extra money.
Okay, so as the very first pitch of the year, I think
That
a game that
exists.
already exists, well received. That's a pretty good start, yeah? I don't think Matthew was with us here, right? On this one.
I wasn't with you on this one. But
So what's your take on this?
It's fine, and like you say, someone else has made a version of this. I just got a feeling in my bones this ain't the pitch of the year.
Wow. All right. He's getting straight in there.
Have you played Operation Tango?
I have. So Tom and I both, I think we might play
it's
it
great.
together, actually. I don't know.
We might have enjoyed it together.
Matthew, did you play it?
No, I watched one very irritating Let's Play of it and then decided against it.
It wasn't the one
All right.
I did, was it? On Twitch? Okay, good.
No
I mean,
comment.
No.
Either way, look, James's Bond, Tom Hazel original at time of recording, has been released, is a very good game, sold very well, I assume. Either way, we can't compare this to anything right now. So at the moment, James's Bond is the game of the year because that was the only
I think
game.
you're off to a good start.
That was the only game at the time. So I guess, should we move on to number 2, Logic's Gate, a Lewis Brindley original?
Yeah.
Can
Interesting.
I start with saying that this episode was using us as some sort of Baldur's Gate therapy session that he clearly needed.
Yes.
So Path of Exile.
20-minute rant.
Oh, no, Path of Exile, yeah. Complaining a lot about Path of Exile and trying to basically take all of his grievances out for that game and turn that into a pitch. It was interesting. It
ended up being
Hero
something.
Featured in, I don't know, not part of the game, just as part of a rant, I think. I can't quite remember.
Oh, yeah. I lined something up with what he was saying to Loop Hero, and he said, no, I fucking hate Loop Hero. So I think the stuff that he didn't like about Path of Exile, he was trying to turn into a game, and then the stuff that we were trying to turn into a game, he was then saying, I fucking hate that too. Oh. I don't actually know if Lewis likes this final pitch. But
I think that most of the great games came from a place of intense negativity.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so too.
What the fuck is Brunch Club?
I hate food. I ask myself that question most days.
From what I remember, and this, I might be completely misremembering this, but and this might have just been how I wanted it in my head. But Logic's Gate was it almost ended up being a little an RPG town management system where you would apply logic to various NPCs and shopkeepers and things, and it would be like you had a hero that you could apply logic to say things like, if you encounter a cave, do this. Yeah, like if it has a troll in it, run.
If troll, run, or you can talk to the merchant and say, if apple, sell 3 gold. If 4 gold, really sell it. I don't know.
Yeah, you can have like different haggle. Yeah, but yeah, basically you're kind of almost creating like a journey of an adventure that you can then automate and set off.
Oh, what's it with this podcast and automating games?
There's another one.
I don't know.
Don't worry.
There was another one later on as well. I don't know
Yeah.
how this kept happening. I think that was the theme of this year.
Automation.
It was just automation and logic.
I just don't know why you'd want to be so removed from the action.
You anti-automation.
It's like building a Westworld. Did we ever mention Westworld
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
pitch?
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay.
I think, if I remember correctly, it came from a place of Lewis really liked all like the macro side of Path of Exile and trying to automate certain things in that people have done with mods
Right.
to the point where
Yeah,
you can
but he
just
didn't like
walk
actually
through
playing the
and,
game.
You know, auto picks things up, but it decides based
yeah.
on the weapon type. And I think
I
it
feel
was
like we
more
did say at
about
some
that.
point, like, is this a game or are you just watching something happen? Like, at what point are
Yeah.
you no longer playing a game?
It's
like an
the
idle
old
game.
Dungeon Daddy dilemma.
That is not the Dungeon Daddy
triple D.
dilemma.
hang
That
on.
is not
a
even
second.
close to the. You need to listen to that episode because it was gold.
All right,
Pure gold.
Even if we try and remember exactly what it was that we managed to pull out of Lewis's angry 40 minutes, I don't think it's gonna end up being game of this year, right? I don't know if anyone would disagree with me on that.
I don't know. I feel like if someone could take what fragmented ideas we had from that pitch and put it together in some cohesive way, I feel like there is something there, like a village management thing filled with junkyard robots that you're trying to get to do different tasks by giving them expressions and logic. I feel like there is something fun there. And maybe it could work. Maybe it has an extremely short lifespan because every game is like 5 minutes where it's like, oh yeah, I told him to run, he keeps running. Great, that's the game. But
there he goes.
everyone's gone.
He's gone.
Everyone's gone. And I feel like there could be something there. Is it better than... Actually, thinking about James's Bond, it already exists. Now, are we going on the basis of if we were to release James's Bond? I mean, Operation Tango exists. So can James's Bond be the game of the year against a game that already exists? Granted that we didn't know about at the time.
I mean, it's better than this. So, sorry.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm not going to say
says
James's Bond is the best, but it's certainly better than a non-game game.
All right.
A non-game game. I mean, I'm with Tom. Like, I feel like there is something good out of this, but what we ended up with by the end of the discussion was like a bunch of ideas of like disparate ideas that could be pulled into something if we'd have had 10 more hours to argue with Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, was it a good episode? No. Was it a good pitch? Definitely not. Was it a sign of hopeful gaming and a beautiful adventure if put together after another 200 days of work? I think so. I think for some reason I might be a little bit Logic Skate on this one.
Earlier on,
Really?
you said the phrase Lewis's angry 40 minutes, which is a game I would play. That's a good game title.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, maybe that's the first game of the new year. Maybe that's what we start with. All right, but so we can move on, saying at least safely for now, Logic Skate, scrap it. It's not better than
What?
James's Bond.
Is there no vote here?
Well, okay, look, anyone, like, I'm voting James's Bond. I say we continue, like, James's Bond currently
there's no
better
chance.
than Logic Skate.
All right.
Yeah, James's Bond.
I concur.
I didn't realize no one was on my side.
I'd say James's Bond is like, I would rather play another, like, even if it was Operation Tango, but just different maps. I would rather play that than a game that I don't quite know what it is yet.
I mean, I'll take it. It's a me pitch.
I feel
okay
like
with
the
that.
argument's moot because something's going to come along and put a bullet in both these games.
Oh yeah, what's that?
Well, we'll get to it soon.
I mean, we'll get to it right now.
Yeah? What is it?
It is the next on the list. If you wanna pitch this one.
I can't even remember what
the
it's called.
Matthew Castle classic.
Okay, now here's the challenge. I want you to pitch this as you remember it, title and all.
So it was about a house. It was about a house through history Was it called History House?
It wasn't called History House.
You jumped through history, and at different points in history, you played like different genres of games, but in the same location. So it was like one level being repurposed for multiple genres. I think was the pitch.
Yeah.
You know what? That's not bad.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
You've done a good job remembering.
It was
this.
called...
Matthew Castle will remember this.
Well, it's called The Building will remember this.
Oh, that's of course, because I think someone else suggested that the things you did resonated through the house or through the building into the later games, perhaps.
I thought that was the intention, right? Like you build the house in the first level, and then that affected the future.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, there was a talk about the Phil Spencer giving a presentation about building codes or like
A3. Yeah, the game gets really deep into like listed building territory.
That was it.
That's right.
Oh, it ended in an alien court case
About whether or not humankind deserve to live based on
this one building.
Examples taken from this one building's long history.
The thing that I remember from the podcast is Tom's summary of it at the end being something like chronicles the history of a building all the way from the first brick placed all the way through to the alien trial at the end of the world.
Yeah, I remember 1920s, you build the building. Then there was the Blitz, and you had to try and evade Germans or something. Then something happened in the 60s. I can't remember what that was.
A diamond? There's some kind of diamond involved?
Oh, there was a diamond. And there was and she was the through line. The old lady was the through line. I remember that very specifically.
It was like Titanic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that was it.
In the 80s, someone plays on a Game Boy, and I think that was all that happened in the 80s.
You find the batteries for it and you go, what was this for? And it's for this boy's Game Boy. Oh, how cute.
And then eventually Alien Trial. And depending on how you
what I'm hearing is basically narrative masterpiece.
I mean,
well, it's got a courtroom in it, so obviously.
Of course it is.
This is what I had in my in my head. The way it was basically Edith. It was What Remains of Edith Finch. That style of game, just set through. So it was a series of vignettes, but told over 100 years or 200 years or however long it is. So super narrative, like heavy game, but very cinematic, very very highbrow. Annapurna would put this out, right?
And it would go too highbrow.
No, not
I guess
too
the
highbrow.
lecture about building regulations that's reasonably highbrow. But
I remember really liking this. I like the idea that the choices that you made back in the 60s would have a repercussion later on, which is where the name idea came from, like Telltale sort of style game.
Yes.
I like that thread, and I remember liking this a lot. That beats James's Bond for me.
Holy shit.
I don't think we have anything from what I can remember that was like this year. And I like Edith Finch is one of my favorite games that I've played in the last 10 years. So anything that like is remotely similar to that in tone or storytelling or whatever, like I'm in. So for me personally,
sounds good.
It wins.
Should we
I
skip to the end?
Chris, what do you think about this one?
Oh, you go.
Or Tom, sorry.
Tom, you can go first.
Well, this is awkward. Okay, I remember going through talking about all the little things that you could find. Maybe it was, I think at one point there was also, you are going through the building in the future or the final stage of this building, and everything you find warps you back to that time. And there was things about like finding height scales along the kitchen wall or something like that, and that takes you to a time when there was a family living there, and you find the batteries and you see the kid playing the Game Boy, and oh boy, he's having a great time, and that's all that happens with him.
Come back to me now.
And I feel like that could be really cool. And I also remember saying that it should be that when the credits start rolling, you just put the controller down and just watch the entire credits, and you just sit there and just say, "Wow." And that's I mean, we haven't got the story obviously, but
rolls down your face.
That's what should happen at the end of it. And I think such a masterpiece in not just gaming but in storytelling should be celebrated by beating James's Bond.
By beating a game that is already out.
That already exists,
I think
someone else made.
Well done, Matthew. I think that was it seems like I don't know. I mean, Chris, are you? What do you think
I
about
can't
this
remember if it
versus
was a
James's
bit-
Bond?
Tom's description then, I mean, my memory of half of these titles, I don't remember half like any of
Most
them.
of these are your titles.
No, the titles. Genius.
Okay.
But the
Don't get me
games
wrong, the
behind
titles are
that.
gold.
The
I think
games.
you remember more than I do. I thought it was called frickin' History House.
I
All right,
can't
well,
remember if-
your perception of it. Your perception of it, do you
Tom's
think?
re-description of it sounds a bit more Obra Dinn-y than I remember, but I like that, to be honest.
Well, let's
Yeah,
not mention
good point.
Obra Dinn now, because that's going to come back later on.
Oh, yeah,
get
that
there.
comes
We've got the opening game in there.
Oh yeah,
All right,
I
so-
forgot about that.
So the building will remember this. Currently, that is now Game of the Year. However, we're about to move on to the next.
There's no
to the
but
next
or
game.
however in this story.
No, I'll be honest. I don't think this is a but or a however.
This
was a Boba
Boba.
pitch. Yeah.
And the title is Rags to Witches. Does this bring anything to memory for anyone?
Yeah, I
Does anyone
remember this
remember
one.
what this game is?
Because
Yeah?
of
What
the
is it, Chris?
absolute corker of a title. You start out as a poor witch, if I remember correctly, and you work your way up through, society going down different routes based on your decisions, whether those are, paragon or renegade or however we decided it was. And there were cults involved. There was a school at one point.
They're
But
cults.
Yeah.
you went from rags to witches.
Now I
and
remember
that's
this
where the
had
title came from.
this had a mechanic I kind of liked, and I probably kind of liked it because I came up with it, where you had your spell books were your loadout, so to speak. So you only
Yeah.
had like 4 or 5 spells that you could remember at any one time. So when you woke up and started the day, you're like, right, I'm going to prepare Earth, Wind, Fire. Yeah. And that's how I'll proceed with the day. And that allowed you to complete certain tasks. I feel like in a Golden Sun sort of style, where parts of the map or parts of the world you couldn't cross or pass unless you had particular spells or even spell combinations. However, you then needed to swap out your spell books to something else. And there was thousands of spells in the game, obviously.
Oh, you're a witch.
And that
You're learning.
I feel like that was a part of it. And also there was necromancy at one point. And I
Oh
think
yeah, I'd forgotten about
at
necromancy.
some point they resurrected a load of horses to save a
Yeah,
village.
it was like wholesome because it was wholesome necromancy. I think that was the
Yeah.
idea. Like the game was meant to be wholesome and just like nice.
It was really cute.
Just
fun
It was
to
so
play.
cute.
Necromancy.
Was it?
It was a coming of age little
Kiki's
game.
delivery service, but with witches.
Well, that's the thing.
Witch.
The
Well,
first
Kiki is a
line,
is a
Is it?
witch.
I've not seen it.
the first line of this this description that Alex has given in this document does fall into the very same trap that I don't like pitches to fall into, and it does say Kiki's delivery service, the game.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
I think that's a good start. That's a good starting point, right? I would play that.
As long as you get far away from that. Otherwise, it's just, come on.
I mean, I remember Boba confusing
Well, the
rags
necromancy comes-
to witches as rats to witches, which
Yeah,
I think is a
that's-
wholly different game.
And
It really took the
confusingly,
sting
she
out
just
of
went
how
with it.
good
She
my
was
name
fine.
was.
Yeah, she was just like agreeing with you out of politeness, not because it was. She thought it was any good.
Oh, I think I crushed this one. There were so many ideas for this one. I remember just being like, this is never going to get made. Let's just dial
It
it
was
down,
too
guys.
much.
It was another one where I think at some point the word Stardew was thrown in there, and immediately that just completely throws everything off course, because it's like, well, what does that actually mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you say a game, all right, real quick, if you say a game is like the Dark Souls of, I don't know, fucking building history games, then you know what you're getting into. If you say something is the Stardew of a game, like that means fucking nothing. Stardew is so many different genres and
means it'd
concepts
be really
that you
boring,
It's
can't.
just because you hate Stardew
Well,
Valley.
it suggests a kind of a sprite style and a perspective and
like,
That's the Mega Man of games.
relationships
sim.
with the townsfolk.
What does
I think
this mean?
Stardew
This is
has
the
an
farming of
identity
witches?
and a genre to it.
Lifestyle sim? Is that
Yeah.
it? Lifestyle sim, right?
All right, why not the Sims of fucking witches?
It's the
Because
second life of
In
witches.
Stardew, you don't have to, you control them. You don't have to tell your character to take a shit.
One's about
Oh.
business, one's about just, your kitchen not setting on fire.
Although I will say
I
the
guess.
Sims 4 Paranormal Pack did come out this year, so it might as well just be that.
There you go.
There you go.
wow.
A game that also came out this year.
But it's
Rags
Rags
not
to
wholesome.
Witches is actually just
All right.
Sims 4 Paranormal. Or
all right,
Sims
Rags
2
to Witches.
Paranormal.
Making Magic, Tom. It was Making
Yeah,
Magic.
sorry,
and it was
Making Magic.
a phenomenal expansion.
That was
pack.
really good.
Rags to Witches versus The Building Will Remember This. Is anyone on the side of Boba for this? Anyone on Rags to Witches? No? Are we all still Building Will Remember This? Or, you know, we
I
can.
mean-
I feel like we can go back. If someone
No,
thinks
we can't
James
go back.
Bond is
We
better.
cannot go back.
We cannot
We
go
can't-
back.
That's not how this works at all. We can't just compare it to every single game.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we should do that. Maybe like a score system next year.
Listen, no, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Come on, let's do it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we're committed to it now.
We're not trying to find the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 game. We're just trying to find the best game. All others be damned.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
brutal.
if this one is better or worse, then the building will remember this.
right.
My vote is it's not. Then Rags to Witches.
I'm sure there's a
Room
delightful
101.
game there. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure it's lovely, but my personal taste is definitely the more story-driven
For some reason,
building.
Yeah, come on.
For some reason, I'm just imagining Genshin Impact, and I don't know why.
If I
Genshin
remember correctly,
Impact.
and I doubt I do, did we discuss Witchbrook in this, which is Chucklefish's new one?
Was
is
that
the
was
picture-
announced
I
at the
don't-
time?
I don't know if that came up.
I don't think that was announced at
out
the time,
yet?
was it?
Yeah, it's been announced for ages. But
Oh.
yeah, Chucklefish's new one is basically a witch wizard school RPG.
Stardew Valley,
In
but you're a witch.
Pixel, it's Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley, but you're a witch. Okay. well, shit. Well, Rags to Witches, another game that exists in multiple different forms.
Yeah, that's coming soon
All right.
from Chucklefish.
Rags to Witches. Sorry, Boba, you're out. You're done. Matthew Castle has beaten you this year. Let's see what
I
happens
should
next
add,
time.
like,
for now, sorry.
I'm not taking it too seriously because last year some of the feedback after the episode was like that jackass was really gunning for the things in his way, and it's like it was all done. It was all done from a place of love. I assure you.
He's saying that now, but if
fucking
he
say that
doesn't
to
win, he's
Dungeon
going to be
Daddy.
fucking livid.
Well, let's find out.
Dungeon Daddy should have gone for anyway. All right. Well, the next
one?
game, I actually, I don't massively remember this one. However, reading this re-description that you've put in here, I think it's got some promise. So this is
got
Gods
legs.
Among Us, a
Okay.
asymmetric multiplayer where two people assume the role of gods and compete for the faith of a tribe of players in an ancient Norse survival environment. Valheim was probably mentioned at some point. Gods can speak to the tribe indirectly through trees, babies, and other forms of possession. They can
remember
spend
this.
faith points on various abilities that either let them communicate or help the tribe or hinder the other god. And when enough faith points are accrued, they can enter battle with the other god? I don't remember that.
I don't remember.
I don't
the
remember
babies
that.
And
But
the
that's a great
battle.
feature. Yeah.
I'm going to admit, when I was recapping these, I got excited.
Oh, and you
and
added
wrote
more
an
stuff.
additional idea at the end.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not the spirit of the thing.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I also remember there being a traitor deception kind of gameplay
Yeah.
element to this, where one of the gods is the devil, one is one is God, and I guess the players had to decide. That baby just spoke to me. It said something.
Hello.
Do I listen to it?
The devil's trying to make them do like sacrifice the people who support the real god, so to like weaken the real god's strength. But he's got to kind of phrase it in such a way that doesn't reveal himself to be the devil.
Hey, have we
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
like getting rid
it's
of
the
Darren?
apple.
Oh, that guy.
Is it like, oh, can you take all the horses to the serpent forest? It will be a good thing for you to do. I remember that. No, definitely.
But
I
that's,
love
that's
this
the thing,
idea.
The
I
gods
love it
would
so
both
much.
have like things that, like, on the face of it, they would like you
They
wouldn't
are
know
on the
which one would
line.
be. Yeah, like you wouldn't know which one would be the evil god. They both would have to have things sacrificed to them. It's just like you just have to decide. Like it's down to the tribe themselves to figure out which one
Yeah.
they're going to follow.
I thought there was a really good hook in that the gods couldn't like directly communicate and you had to basically interpret the actions of the gods to work out who you were working for. Like if you don't know which god has triggered what or what they're trying to communicate, or if they're trying to reward a certain action. It was. I thought this was great.
I think a lot of the actions you could do as well had a lot of overspill as well. Like if the good god sees a load of wolves coming down the valley and he's like, right, I'm going to cause an avalanche to stop that from happening. God knows how this will work in an actual fucking game. But the avalanche then spreads into the village and then everyone's like, well, fuck you, devil. Obvious devil. It's like, no, there were wolves up there. I tried to save you and I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like being able to do like weird things that you have to interpret contextually. Like if the gods can make trees bleed, then what does that mean? Is that a yes or a no?
What
are you trying to tell me?
You were never like, yay, tree, God is happy.
We needed blood. Amazing. Maybe you go to their like shrines and they make certain sigils glow, and then you're just watching the villagers, the other players, read these shrines and interpret it completely incorrectly. I guess a kind of is it Mysterium? Is that the game? That kind
Mysterium,
of
Mysterium
exactly.
and
Yeah,
Dixit. Why did we not even think of that the whole time we were discussing this? That's a great
but all within the context, because I think originally this was Rust, right? This was very long games. But then I was saying that it should be more Dread Hungry, where it's quite quick games, like 10, 15-minute games that you play very quickly, and they have to banish a god at the end. And are they right or are they wrong? What's up, Chris?
I can't remember, but I kind of like this idea. I can't remember if the players that played the two gods could speak. I know they couldn't speak to like the other pool of, but are they in constant communication with each other? Just to
yes, yeah,
okay,
they are. Yeah.
Okay,
now
like,
just not
you
outside.
Constant communication with them. However, you can't change what they are doing at any time. You can't interact with each other. Yeah. So you're just watching him. Like, no, don't. Please don't, you motherfucker.
Yeah. And that's what was really special for me, was this idea that you've got the gods communing, being like, look at these idiots down here, and then you've got all the villagers can talk to each other at all times.
And then at night time,
can the gods hear the villagers?
Yeah, they can.
The gods can hear the villagers.
Also, there was the very, very expensive move where you can possess a baby and then speak as God's voice. And everyone in the village are listening to them for like 10 seconds. And they're like, all right, I'm going to make the trees bleed. I'm the good guy. And they're like, I don't know if that is the good guy.
Because it would always come out in some demonic voice, right? Even no matter what god it was.
It has to have that.
But that's it. Like you might only have points to you might only have enough points to make a tree bleed. That's the only way you can communicate at that particular time. You need to get something really important across. So it might be a good thing that you're trying to communicate.
Exactly.
But it just comes across in a very bad way. You're just misunderstood. So okay. So I mean, I really like the idea of this one.
I think it would be a bitch to make and balance, but
it needs a lot of work. But the idea of that, like the kind of deception game with that extra level of the two people competing against each other could be kind of fun.
I just think the villagers themselves need a goal. Otherwise, it's just them guessing between two gods. But let's just assume they have a really fun, really cool goal by the time this game comes out. And that is Gods Among Us. How do people feel about Gods Among Us versus, I guess, the other one? Building will remember this.
Why
do we keep forgetting that now? That's the one
you've already forgotten about that one now. The new one, Gods Among Us. This is clearly the one.
Has been forgotten. That's the new name. I mean, I really like it. I feel like I would want to. I feel like I think this wins out just because, like, if the building will remember this is another Edith Finch that is a great experience, that could be amazing. But I have played that already. Gods Among Us, I feel like I haven't played before. I want to play it. Like, I want to see what that's like as a game. So for me, that wins.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's fresh. It's cool. It's unique.
It's unanimous.
Yeah, I love it.
Is Matthew just saying it so he doesn't get dumped on?
I'm on board with Gods Among Us. I think it's mechanically a much more interesting potential there.
Wow.
Bam.
Holy shit.
All right.
Man, you know what we are good at in Pitch Please? We are fucking great at making God games. Remember
Holy
Blessed
shit,
last
you're
year?
right.
Jesus.
Blessed, yeah.
Good enough to
What
win,
a
though,
great
wasn't it?
one. Wasn't good enough to win, no, but it stuck around for a long time.
All right, well, let's see how this one is going to, how long this one's going to stay around for. 'Cause
You're going to have to do it because I do not remember this.
Oh, fuck, I was really hoping that you would. All right, so
Okay,
this one
great.
was a bit of a clusterfuck because
it was.
So this was Team Triple Jump, which was, we had, I can't even remember when this was. Like, it wasn't, I feel like it wasn't even that long ago. But Ben and P had joined us, and it was initially, the pitch was they wanted to do a horror game that broke the fourth wall. So that you were playing something to do with, like the original idea was like your dog goes missing, right? And you're looking for your dog.
And that didn't come up again.
It didn't come up again at all. But through doing this, you somehow managed to rattle some kind of secret arm of the government, and they start fucking with you through like Steam messages and other weird things on your computer.
Oh,
so
okay.
maybe one
like
example,
your printers and stuff.
yeah,
If they're
one
on,
example
like,
they
a
gave was
local
your
network.
CD tray opens.
Yeah, that's it. Your CD tray, which no one has anymore. But I love the thought behind it.
They've safely removed my hardware. Ooh.
I remember it being
Then-
basically an ARG that lasted for years. And
Yes,
that is what
that
led to
was
the
it,
name
yeah.
of the game, Area 57. It's malware.
If I remember correctly, and I do remember correctly because I kept doing the Badoop noise.
That's right.
It was that. It was the fact of it was the hook was you wouldn't hear for like 2 weeks, and then you just hear that notification noise, and it would be very unnerving because it might be something like
Just
crazy,
the
or it could just be
haunting-
nothing. It's just it was basically trying to fuck with people, and really mess up their lives.
It was Lifeline, but
that's
to
fun.
an extra level.
Yeah, like it was an evolution of like the ARG. That was the idea, and it would like
Yeah.
to the point where it would like
Crippling
it would have a
anxiety.
direct effect on. Like, it wasn't meant to be that bad for your life. I don't think. I think we would go. Or was it? I don't know. Maybe that's what we were
I
doing.
think so, yeah.
But maybe it was really meant to fuck you up.
But yeah, when you install the game, you would then be asked to add particular people and bots on Steam, on Facebook, on WhatsApp, put your phone number into this thing. You were meant to give away a lot of information.
Yeah.
And also give it administrator access to your PC so
They
that it
contact
had
you
full
and-
control. But that's just how you enjoy the game to its fullest. Maybe there's an option
Yeah.
where you just say, oh, you know what, I'm not going to give it all this stuff, and it's actually really shit.
Yeah, it's like how Alex, you do the detective stuff in the post, right? You get that thing through
Yes.
every month. It's like that,
I
but
do.
just real,
Yeah.
real nasty,
Invasive,
All-
yeah,
all
really
up in-
and that is
all
like-
up in your shit.
Yeah, like the most you have to do in that is make a phone call, and there'll be a voicemail saying, "Oh, hi, it's Tom. Sorry, I can't get to the phone right now, but tell me who you think the killer is, and I'll email you." And then you just have to say,
Weirdly, I get that.
I'm
Sorry, I can't come
paraphrasing,
to the
it's not-
phone right now. I'm being stabbed. Oh my
It's
God,
handled
the
better
next
than that.
case.
But
That
yeah,
guy's
like
phone
it's
is going to be full of 100 messages of people just saying like, Professor Plum. Professor Plum. Is it Professor Plum? I think it's Professor Plum. He's got to sit there and deal with it. What a nightmare. What a cursed life he's made for himself.
But okay, so yeah, it was something like that, but as a video game and much longer form.
Yeah,
But I think
I
that's
also-
as much as I can remember.
I mean, before it became just malware, it was essentially Hypnospace Outlaw kind of. What
Right,
you're
yeah,
playing is a person sat at their computer,
Mhm.
navigating their computer and experiencing these things in a game. And then we broke that fourth wall and just said, let's just get rid of that wall entirely and just make it you're that person. Experiencing creepy things. But I don't think there was ever anything really haunting that they came up with beyond just saying, trust me, it's scary.
Yeah, it's
And
going to be
we're
really
just like,
scary.
oh,
Your
okay,
CD
yeah.
tray is going to fucking open a lot.
I mean, I can think of more haunting things than that. if
but
your tray
you don't know
opened
when.
and then there was like a picture of like a child in the tray,
Jesus Christ.
With the eyes
that would
crossed
be
out.
scary.
Amazing. Okay.
yeah.
Yes. So this isn't quite a game, I don't think. So I don't know if we can even like Can anyone see this as a game in a way that excites them more than Gods Among Us?
Yeah.
If someone had the balls to make this and release it on Steam, I would give it a second look. I'd just be like, please tell me, has someone bought this? I need to know what is happening with this thing. And I remember the only way you know if you've won is it uninstalls itself, and that's the only way you get rid of it. And I just would love to see people living with Area 57, its malware.
Yeah, sure.
And also it controlled their smart home as well. That was another thing it did.
Oh, yeah, that was it. It made it slightly colder.
Rings their doorbell.
Yeah.
Make it colder in the house.
Yeah,
And your
just turns
printer
their lights
prints out a
on.
message saying, "There's a ghost in the room."
Boo.
I'd just love to see one person living with this, and I think it would be the only person who'd bought the game. But beyond that, would I want it? Fuck no. Hell no.
So I think is that unanimous? Is anyone going to fight for this one, or is it gone? Do we move on?
I think.
Sounds
For me
like a
personally,
no, right?
I have enough anxiety in my life. I don't need to give myself more and pay for the privilege.
I feel like that is word for word what you said in the episode.
He's listening back to it now.
I'm consistent.
He is.
All right, so I think we're done with Area 57. It's malware.
See
Triple
ya.
Jump. Thank you very much for joining us. Sorry that
See
didn't
ya.
make it. Sorry, we probably ruined it. But moving on. What's the next one, Tom? Because this was one of yours, wasn't it? I
Oh
believe.
God. Yeah. Now, annoyingly,
Oh God.
annoyingly with this one, this was an idea that I wrote down. I was really into, and then I started speaking in the pitch, and I realized only when I'd verbalized it and said it out loud, it's actually not good. This was the Oberdin-esque Pokemon Snap adventure, Brain Jig, and you basically lived in snippets of realities in a sailor's life going on their journey, and you were taking pictures of a myriad of different nautical phenomenon, like I mean, I feel like the basis of this entire idea was St. Elmo's Fire, because I saw that and I thought, fuck, that's cool. I'd love to see or relive that, or try and examine that, see it in its precursor to when it's actually happening and what happens afterwards, and identifying that is the phenomenon.
Would you like to re-explain?
I've catalogued it. St. Elmo's Fire.
What's St. Elmo's Fire?
It's when the mastheads start fucking blasting out like sparks of lightning. Like in Breath of the Wild, where you're wearing metal weapons and you're about to get zapped by lightning. It's the little sparks that come out to signify that you're about to get fucking blasted by lightning. It's cool as hell.
If you didn't know what it is and you were a sailor like in the 1500s, you would shit. You would assume that it's God.
You would
or
shit
something
yourself.
We're not saying it's
crazy
the
is going on.
1500s. You can just watch videos, clips of it on YouTube.
well,
So
yeah,
what's
but
it
all
called?
right.
Experience it.
Find a video of ball lightning. It doesn't exist. There's a lot of stories about ball lightning, though, and it's amazing. It blew up a fucking church. Ball lightning. Anyway, I thought it would just be cool to have a game where you explore and discover in a catalog way all of these strange phenomenon in a seafaring adventure. I think because I hadn't just played Oberdin. It was just on my mind at the time.
I loaded up the
and-
comments for this video, and the second one is Tom reinvents Oberdin but then denies it. Which is exactly what I remember from this. Oh, good.
I think the only thing that was
Every time you came up with a mechanic, we were like, oh, like an Oberdin. And you were like, no, like in my game.
No, I mean, the only thing that from at least what I've repitched here, I don't remember this one too well, is that it was Oberdin in that it was on a boat and it was in the past and it
making a
was
log.
and you go through memories to explore these things, and also the entire crew died and you have to discover how and why. And I think that's the only thing that's like Oberdin.
From my memory of this, what it ended up being like was there was more of a focus on just like it was walking sim almost like esque way. It was just to focus on like experiencing these amazing moments of like natural phenomena or maybe supernatural phenomena. I don't know, but like like huge whales, St. Elmo's Fire, the Northern Lights in the middle of the ocean, like those kind of cool moments. And like fair enough. Maybe it was more of an experience than a game.
I feel like
But,
it's a VR experience. is what this is,
very
rather than
nice.
an actual game.
I very much remember going through the Bermuda Triangle as a story beat to explain why there was all of these strange phenomenon, and then maybe you come out at the other end and there's just the memories left. I may be just making that up, but that would be cool, wouldn't it? Is someone finds the book with all the pictures that you took of all the strange phenomenon, and then you go back through, you know.
I did like Alex's rundown of things that you could log, which was ball lightning, St. Elmo's fire, and large whales.
Large whales are
We took a
incredible.
dive on the third one. That's a big whale. We'll write that down.
I also remember saying that there was also another idea with this where you never actually see the event itself, but all of the things that lead up to it. And then Matt said that a gamer's dream is to experience the build up to an event and then never actually get to see it.
Particularly as the event is, you see something off a boat. Otherwise, this is a game where you walk around a boat and then you don't see ball lightning. That was my problem. If the pitch is like, have you heard of ball lightning? It's so awesome. Oh, and by the way, you'll never get to see it. It's just a boat. Enjoy the trip.
And I think Phil Spencer also came into this one as well.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a classic Castle Burn.
Yeah.
It was somehow tied to brain dances from Cyberpunk because that's why it's called Brain Jig.
It was called Brain Jig, yeah.
Can't remember how we got there.
I can't remember how we got there. I think it was basically, remember how cool the concept of brain dancing was in Cyberpunk, and they never really explored it to its fullest because they didn't fucking finish the game? What if we just did it again and made it good or interesting,
what if we did,
or
but we didn't?
relevant to the story? But then you never actually get to see the thing.
I
don't know.
really like the idea of those moments, but
it's a VR experience, not a game. Would I install it and want to witness these things in 5-minute snippets of VR heaven? Nah. I don't know.
It certainly doesn't come close to James's Bond or anything since then. So
or anything.
James Bond, that was the first one that has since been eliminated.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what else? Rats to Witches? No, sorry. I think that's
Gods
better.
Among Us right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I don't think it beats anything.
Just say it. You think this is the worst one of the year?
This is the worst
I think
one
that's
of
what
the
he's
year.
trying to politely say. Yeah.
But
Jesus.
All right.
I
Look.
think there's something there. Maybe. Gods Among Us is great.
All right, great. Fuck's sake.
Okay, so it looks like no one's fighting for this one. So currently, Gods Among Us is still holding the spot, but that's only after two additional pitches. The next one we're getting onto is a very rare one because it's I think the only one ever where Tom hasn't been present.
I don't actually know this idea.
I
I
really
also
like
haven't
this one.
listened to this episode.
I think it's
Chris,
because Tom
do you-
wasn't there.
You
Do you
fucking
want to pitch
piece of
this
shit.
one? I fucking knew he was going to say it. Well, why don't you tell us what it's about, Chris?
If I remember correctly, the lovely Alex Navarro, it was basically physicsy gang beast-esque Mr. Bean as a hitman. So every decision you did had like a percentage chance of fucking up, and then obviously
Yes.
dealing with the consequences of that. You weren't good at your job as a hitman, so you go to strangle someone, and instead you slip over on the way, and you've now just
You're the
smashed
Frank
thing.
Drebin of
Yeah.
Is that,
Maybe I don't remember.
Yeah, he was really into Frank Drebin.
He liked Frank Drebin, yeah. That was
He brought up Frank Drebin
his
a
hero.
lot.
Too much.
Wait, does this?
I really like this idea, if I remember rightly. The idea that you'd have like a Rube Goldberg system around your level, and you would trigger a series of events through strange action or inaction that would end up killing the subject through like, ooh, I knocked a tin of paint over, the waiter slipped, their champagne went into someone's face, and you carry on this crazy series of events. Or it's like that scene from Heavy Rain where you just if you make none of the quick time events. That's this game, and I love that.
I remember talking about that now. Actually, yeah. The idea that it just ends up becoming more and more ridiculous, and harder to control as well. Like there's just a bunch of like just having to avoid like bananas on the floor or whatever, or you're in a like. It was dumb, but it was fun. That was the idea. It was kind of almost like I think we mentioned Octodad. I think there was a bit of Octodad. I remember us mentioning.
Fall flat.
I appreciate I wasn't there, so I'm just viewing this from the perspective of this is the pitch I've heard for the first time. Now, I don't understand how there's only a bit of Octodad in there. This sounds like Octodad.
Octodad Hitman. I mean, maybe it is. Was that what this is?
No, it was more like the mechanics, the well-behaved mechanics of Hitman, but with like an element of chaos in them. So you weren't just wrestling with something completely bizarre. It was like, what happens if you're playing Hitman and your trousers fall down or your trousers fall off or something. It was... there was definitely a bit more structure to it.
I think, again, like I really liked talking about this, and I really liked the idea, like, when we were coming up with ideas of what it would be like and how ridiculous it would be, and just the idea of having someone of like in my head like an Agent 47 style character, just having his trousers fall down or slipping on a puddle or like falling out of a vent and crashing onto a table, just dumb things like that happening. But I don't know if that is like, again, like with the other games we've had, I feel like that Gods Among Us for me is just another, like, that's something that I've not played before. Whereas Idiot Hitman, I immediately know what that is. Okay, it's Hitman. Like, I know what I'm doing. It's just a kind of a silly, fun version of Hitman. Whereas for me, Gods Among Us is...
Yeah. Maybe this is just a bad rewriting of the episode itself in a description, but this sounds like if you were to turn exhaling out of your nose slightly harder than normal into a game. It's just like... it's crazy.
I don't think we sold it well this time around, Alex.
It's just...
I'm sorry, Alex Navarro. We've completely failed you here.
I did like this one, though.
I liked the idea at the time. I actually still like it now, but actually now I'm talking about it, maybe I like it less, actually. Maybe
that's how I felt about Brain Jig. That's how I felt about Brain Jig. Now, I don't want to be negative about it because I don't know this is probably the episode I just didn't listen to. So, like, look, I have zero context here. I rescind my vote. Whatever happens, happens.
All right.
If you think this comedy masterpiece clearly is deserving of beating Gods Among Us, a unique gameplay experience that hasn't been made before, then sure. All
right, let's
fucking
go through it. Matthew,
Octodad DLC.
I'm a Gods Among Us. I think Hitman's got enough comedy chaos of its own.
All right, yeah, that's a good point. You can throw cans of beans at people in Hitman. That's pretty funny.
Hitman's already funnier than like 99% of games. So,
all right, Chris.
I agree. I agree with what Matt just said. And I also agree with your statement of it's like Gods Among Us, as a deception game, but is still a newer idea that, hasn't sort of, as far as we're aware, it's probably already out and we just haven't realised, hasn't been done yet and we haven't played.
Well, it certainly is, yeah.
It's
going to be like the new Among Us. Someone's made it, no one's playing it at the moment.
The new Among Us,
literally has the name Among Us in it.
Yeah, exactly.
We might get sued by Warner Brothers because that is the tagline for the Injustice games. But
shit.
We're fine.
Wait, really?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
Injustice,
of course it is.
Gods Among Us.
Oh yeah, how do we not notice that?
Whoops.
Yeah, but that game doesn't have Batman talking through a baby, does it?
Sacrifice Darren. All right, James.
Yeah, I mean, no question, it's Gods Among Us, isn't it? It's. Don't get me wrong. I was Idiot Hitman. I think there's a lot to like about it, but I don't think it was quite as nailed down, right? We talked about the idea of the silly physics gang beasts. Actually, I don't think that's right for the game. It should be more tight and like Hitman, like the controls. So,
yeah,
no, it's Gods Among Us.
Yeah, maybe we just didn't quite. Okay, so we're continuing the theme of rejecting guest ideas and going with our own.
Yeah,
sorry, Alex Navarro. You were a fantastic guest, but your idea, it's just not it this year. It's not it for us. So we're going to crack on.
Well, don't worry. There's still 2 guests left to go in the future of these this year of games.
There is actually,
so there's still a chance. There's still a chance that we won't just pat ourselves on the back. And a
small chance.
Small chance.
What is the next one, Tom? Do you know this one?
The next one is another me one, and I feel like this is one that I started the pitch by saying I don't remember writing this pitch. I don't know anything about it. Which was a Firewatch style game where you are the person in the tower guiding an NPC through an adventure based on your knowledge of the area gained through puzzles available in your environment. So, I mean, maybe I just saw, oh shit, Operation Tango exists. And I was like, I'll try a different theme. I don't know. So this is Snake Out. I can't remember exactly why it was called Snake Out. Oh wait, the final line of this description is tongue a snake. I think it might have something to do with that.
that was Matt. Yeah. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Why.
I think that was Matthew's idea.
Was this the one where, you guide someone through, and at the end you go through and see the consequences because you have to get to the end as well, right? And you go through and you see the scenes that you've caused based on the decisions and the clues that you use.
I feel like this somehow eventually turned into a narrative experience when you lose communication with the person inside, and you're like, well, I have to go in myself, and you then retrace their steps or something like that. But I remember also in the pitch itself, I don't know if this made it into the final game, at some point, something inside the temple starts communicating with you and you alone, and you have to do what it says to allow your survivor through somehow.
Oh yeah,
and
didn't it go a little bit like Lovecraftian or something?
Kind of. I think like you get communicated with from some demonic underworld horror, and it's like if you want to get to your fucking gold pile, or you want to tongue a snake in there. I don't remember the context of that joke, but then you have to lower his heart rate by this much, or you have to make him eat this conspicuous mushroom or some bullshit. I don't know, and I can't remember how that actually is introduced into the game or the effects of it. But there you go. I'm just going to put that out there and just say that was a thing. Snake Out.
That was there. Does anyone else remember any more of that? Matthew, is anything coming to mind? Jogging your memory? The snake stuff?
That was your idea. Like the information that you were giving them from the tower had things like solving weird puzzles. It was a bit like that Indiana Jones Grail Diary, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
And there was
stuff
like to get into this thing, you have to kiss this snake. And there was a suggestion that the person you were giving advice to was maybe like a hostage, and you were trying to help them by like giving them information that would like fuck over the baddies or something.
Yeah, there was something like that. Yeah, it was probably Nazis.
I've forgotten about that.
It was probably Nazis.
I have just clicked on the video at random, and it played from where I last listened to it, and the first thing I heard was half explorer, half snake, all kissing. So I don't know where we got to with this, but there was definitely a kissing snake.
There was definitely a kissing snake.
What's that about? Fuck. Well, look.
But if I remember correctly, it was very much like the trials in Indiana Jones. You know, the Jehovah Struck with an eye. That shit.
Yeah. The penitent man. That stuff. The penitent man. Such a good scene. So yeah, it was that the game. Also the Firewatch stuff. That was the initial the idea that you're in a tower, but you're in a room, and then maybe you're looking through books and
you had
to try and figure stuff out.
There was like loads of books and loads of literary works that you can scroll through, and most of it irrelevant and pointless, but you have to try and find it in this stack of shit.
A slightly flawed game in that it's you in a tower talking to someone who's off having like an amazing adventure, and you're like, quickly put the jewel in the thing, but all you see is like your beans on top of the oven for the whole game because you're stuck in the tower.
It's almost
is this the theme of this year?
Up and you don't get to see the payoff.
Yeah.
You did. In this, you did get to see the payoff.
You do at the end get to see it.
After it's all done.
The steps.
You retread the steps, and you're like, he did put the blue crystal in, and you didn't get to the end, and did this game have an actual ending? What happened when you got to
see ball lightning?
You see ball lightning.
And you get a kiss of
God. It's all tied to brain jig.
The thing is, this is one of these games where it's like we were there together, or whatever it's called. But
yeah,
one
yeah.
person's having much more fun than the other person. So yeah, it doesn't, unless
Well,
you
no,
really
it-
like looking through
It
the
wasn't.
books.
It wasn't one person having more fun than the other person. This wasn't a multiplayer
It
game.
was single player, yeah.
It was a single player experience. The AI is having a better time than you.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Was it AI? Oh,
Yeah,
it was AI.
just,
I thought it was.
AI is just
Okay,
having
yeah.
a
I
better
mean,
Such a
time.
bad idea.
But he is so quirky. I remember him being so quirky. Remember,
My
he
God.
kept saying like
he
zip
was,
zabadoo.
yeah, he was like
zip zabadoo.
yeah.
I'm going to jump over
He
the
had the
spike
right
track.
personality on him. That was it.
Wacka wacka wang. Poison
Keep you
myself.
entertained.
okay, yeah, all right.
But he was so
All right.
charming and quirky.
Anyone? Anyone?
No,
gonna,
I mean, I remember
breakfast?
liking the idea a lot of the time, especially the idea that you would get to retrace the steps. Apparently, that
At
was
the very end.
revolutionary at the time. I was like, oh, imagine
Yeah.
seeing all the choices that you made laid out in front of you. But on second review, I'm like, yeah, I mean, cool, I guess.
It feels like maybe we just didn't quite arrive at something that we were all excited about by the end. Perhaps like we didn't quite like. And I feel like perhaps this might have been, if I'm remembering now correctly, Matthew's torpedo of you playing the game and not actually seeing anything, and then we were desperately trying to fix it. Which is actually a
And we
very
couldn't.
good point.
Just to spite
and
me.
we couldn't. So it was just.
It wasn't just to spite you. It was so we had more than a 10-minute episode.
All the best ideas come from spite.
So
Yeah,
all right,
God.
it looks like Snake Out. I don't think is gonna do well this year. It looks like we're gonna move on.
Fuck,
Sorry,
you know what?
Snake
Next
Out.
year, I think all of my pitches are just going to be, remember this game? That fucking sucked. Let's make it again, but good. And then all of my pitches next year are just going to be, oh, you remember Stardew Valley? Let's make it good. And that's going to be the pitch. That's the entire pitch.
Maybe from now on, every episode should be just going to a previous episode game and then trying
Let's
to
fix
make it better.
alien
Yeah, let's fix.
irrigation. Oh,
Fix,
wait.
please.
Fix, please. Tom will fix it. No, wait. No, I don't want that
No.
tied to my name.
No.
All right. the next game, Alien Irrigation. I'm not going to explain what this is yet because I had quite a strong idea of what this is in my head, and I want to see if anyone else landed there at all.
Once again, fantastic title.
That
Yeah.
was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like silent running, in that you're on a spaceship with some little robots. There's something about you're planting seeds. I think it morphed into the idea that you're trying to save the seeds at the expense of everyone else, and you sort of use the seeds and the plants they grow as weapons against the rest of the crew, or maybe to fix the ship as well. I think that was it.
There was definitely crew
yeah.
in stasis, and there was like power management, I believe, and like clearing rooms out.
Yes.
It was
So-
a bit FTL
yeah.
and a bit just.
And you
Stardew
couldn't
Valley.
plant certain things next to each other because they would interact, or you had
Oh,
to
yeah.
decide which plants to plant because the seeds would go off, and then you had to manage their resources as well.
Yeah.
There was-
so
yeah.
It was essentially, at least like in my head, the way it ended up was there's the silent running thing of you are the sole remaining crew of a huge spaceship that is like an intergalactic seed vault, and there are a bunch of crew in stasis, but you have to wait until the Galactic Council arrive to save you. It's going
There
to
was
be
a
X
countdown,
number of
right?
days. Yeah, there was a countdown. Yeah, and during that time, you have to try and keep as many of the fauna. Is it which one? The plants
Or both.
alive as possible. The flora, by planting them and helping them grow. But then while you're doing that, the ship is also failing, and you have to divert resources into different areas to help plants grow in certain areas, or you can divert resources from the crew in stasis and potentially kill people off. But that's going to get you a bad score at the end.
The Stardew
you have to
Valley
make a
of
bunch of
space
HUDs.
games, whatever the fuck that means.
Did we have it where the crew were AI, but you had to obviously feed them? So that was another thing. You had to grow enough food for you, but you could put them back
think
in
we
stasis
talked
without
about
them
that.
drew
There was
power.
Yeah.
I can't remember the minutiae of the management. But I
didn't-
think I did really like this because I like those kind of games. I like FTL-esque, bit Fallout Shelter, bit
I think for me, it was the idea that it would also be like third person, and you'd have this really rich environment. You'd be walking around this ship, which would slowly get overtaken by the plants, or there would be like vines growing up the wall. And then that would then wreak havoc with the systems. And then you had this real balance of what do I save? What do I let go? I think we also, we talked about a lot of things. There was a lot of scope to this, but I really like the idea that you were alone and you were isolated, or maybe you were the last of the crew, and that you were just in deep space, maybe orbiting a sun to like collect its energy.
With the last of the human seed.
Human seed. But then you might see like another ship out of the window all of a sudden. You'd be like, what is that?
Yes.
And you might get boarded, or you might have to defend the ship.
Yeah, you could potentially dock it to investigate. And maybe there'll be something interesting there.
This like really sort of rang the sci-fi bell in my head, and I was like, this is like Stargate universe. This is what it should have been. They had the big ship that was falling apart, and they had to protect it. Yeah, I love this idea.
Yeah, for me, it was that it was full on atmosphere. It was the idea of just like I think we kind of almost went two directions with it, because there was the FTL like resource management heavy style game, but then James and I were kind of more in the direction of like just a very atmospheric, like sci-fi space, it's lonely in space kind of thing.
I think someone suggested that it had like a framing device of a trial, and
oh my god!
Oh, it did. Right. It did.
And it was like,
I thought you were joking.
You've got the ship back home at the expense of the crew of the plants.
Yeah.
I can't quite remember who came up with that, but I like that idea.
Yeah. Oh,
that sounds like
no
a
idea.
classic Hazel idea, really.
Yeah.
Okay. I do.
He loves a court.
But also, actually, I think that works. Like, it could actually.
I feel like that was the end of game score screen, and it was just guilty. Oh well, shit. I guess I lost because I didn't bring enough plants and humans back. And the true ending of the game is innocent. And
also, they're like, guilty, you killed all your human crew, and you're like, oh no. But then you look over to the side, and just in the corner of a window, there's like a little vine giving you a thumbs up.
Yeah. Nice. I remember this being very, very, not hardcore, but tense management of resources and systems in a spaceship to make sure it's still running for long enough for someone to turn up. And if you're able to keep humans alive in their stasis pods, amazing. If you're able to grow some plants and gather some food, it will help you survive. But also, amazing, you've brought plants to Mars, and that was your job and the background of the story. For some reason, it's making me think of barotrauma now that I know that barotrauma exists, but that kind of
I've
thing.
I've heard a lot about that recently.
Walking around a submarine in this instance for barotrauma, but keeping systems alive in a multiplayer style thing. But in this case, single player. I think it could be cool. Does it beat Gods Among Us?
Gods Among Us? What do you think, Tom?
It does for me, I think.
Really?
Oh, shit.
I really like.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, obviously everyone has the slightly different idea in their head of what they think it is, but I think the premise and I lean more towards the management side of stuff, which I really like, and I think if you make a mistake, then it's one of those games where you're like, I know what I did wrong, I won't do that wrong this time, and I'll go again. That's for me it does.
What about you, James?
Yeah, I mean, I came into this episode knowing that Gods Among Us and this game were up there for me, and
oh shit,
this game I think just beats Gods Among Us. And it's so close because I love multiplayer games, and the idea of Gods Among Us I think is a great multiplayer game. This one is pure single player. This is just an experience that you sit down, and what I'm picturing where you're walking around this ship, you've got alarms going off, you've got vines growing everywhere, it's so very atmospheric because and you just can see space and nothingness outside. I think this beats it for me. It's this wins.
Well,
Oh my
I mean,
god! Well, I mean,
Tom?
I think this means we have to put it to a vote because it's difficult. I don't know how comparable they necessarily are. Like Gods Among Us, I think, is a pretty unique mechanic added to a multiplayer game. Yeah, granted, it's just traitor deception, but I just love the idea of playing a game like that. You know, two teams against each other, but can communicate against a tribe of people trying to do whatever fucking task they're trying to do. I think it's really cool. But in Alien Irrigation, I think, one of my favorite films is Moon. Maybe that's what this game is. And in a sense, it kind of is. I also love The Martian, and it's growing plants. That's what he did. He shit on some soil and grew some taters.
We didn't speak about either of those films, actually.
We didn't, and I don't know why.
That's strange.
I think, this could be another very cool game. Maybe there is a problem with the Game of the Year award. Maybe we should split them into categories. Maybe because this single-player atmospheric space exploration, plant-growing survival game is the single-player game of Pitch Please 2021, and Gods Among Us is the fresh new concept multiplayer award-winning game of Pitch Please 21. I don't know.
We've already committed to it. We have to pick one.
We have to pick one.
It's one or death.
I pick Gods Among Us still, I think. It's just on the basis that it's newer and there's more, it's something more unique than I think this one is, than Alien Irrigation is.
I'm with you, Tom. I think just for the fact that by the end of this, we had two separate games that were there was the one that James and I really liked, and the one that you and Chris really liked, and we didn't quite like either of those games. I would like to play, but Gods Among Us just feels different. Like those two games felt like versions of games I'd already played, even if they were really cool. I wanted to play them. Gods Among Us feels like I haven't played that yet, which means that it's down to Matthew.
Yeah, the deciding vote. This is important. Like it's a big decision to make here.
Thing is, I'm traditionally more of a single player person, but that's how much I like the Gods Among Us idea. You see, that's
okay.
The even though it's not properly formed, I think that's like a small brainstorming session away from being the much more exciting game. I'm just not a big space guy.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Not space.
Sorry, it's Gods Among Us for me.
No, that's great.
To me, that's not like a loss. But I think as the Gods Among Us one, we all agreed on like it. But with, as Alex said, with the with Alien Irrigation, we all have our own ideas of it. Therefore, it's less.
I think
of a
we still
clearer.
are imagining very different games with Alien Irrigation.
Yeah,
but we all know what that is. So for me, that's not
Okay.
Won't lose sleep over it.
It could still be
that's
toppled.
a worthy winner.
It can still be beaten.
Could still be.
we still have
That's
the two guests to go through.
There's a couple of killer
won't win.
ideas left to come.
All right, well, let's move on because the next episode was a pitch and mix where I had three very short ideas.
Quick
So
fire.
I'll go through them. It's a quick fire. So the first one was I guess Pornbarian-esque chess puzzle game where it's your army of chess soldiers, pawns, knights, queens, that sort of thing, or queen, I guess, against a zombified chessboard. And it's kind of mini-gamey, but I feel like there is something that could be done there to not revolutionize chess, but almost just add the chess zombies game mode to chess. And I feel like it's kind of cool. I don't expect it to win. I just wanted to retell that one because I think it could be made as a mobile game.
Yeah,
I would like to play
when the
that.
zombies took your pieces, they joined the army.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Pieces, right?
And I think it was framed in the idea of almost like chess puzzles where you've got 3 moves to beat the zombie army and then move on to the next level. And it's figuring out how do you move these chess pieces to do that. And I think on a level by level basis, I think that could be really cool. Is it going to beat Gods Among Us? No. The next pitch, though, was literally Lemniscate.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was the game Lemniscate. I can't remember my origin of this idea. Oh, it was. I remember it was. What was the game that came out where first-person shooter, Dishonored style? But you go back in time. Deathloop. It was Deathloop multiplayer that exists. Is Lemnis Gate. So that can't win because that is just a stolen idea that I didn't even know that I'd stole. And then from the pitch and mix, the winner of the pitch and mix, in fact, the small tournament, was a pitched game from a episode that never went out. Stay quiet. Yeah. It's film time. And I remember, Matt, you loved this one. Yeah. This was the you have to eat in various scenarios where you are meant to be quiet, but not be so loud that you get kicked out of them. And in this instance, it was, stay quiet, it's film time. You're in a cinema trying to eat nachos or Doritos or whatever while trying to not get kicked out.
Yeah, it was trying to eat when levels. People blew their noses because they were sad at a funeral, and that's when you'd shove in a load of Pringles.
Yeah. You've got like the Sniper Elite sort of like, when loud sounds are happening, like thunder or whatever, and that's when you should shoot, or in this case, eat.
Oh my God, when you crunch, it zooms into like X-ray vision of the crunch of Pringles. Or like opening the packet.
Every single time.
Fuck, yeah. I just want to say, before we move on, I think the more I've been thinking about this, the chess one, if it wasn't for Gods Among Us, that would be my vote for the game of the year up to this point. Because the idea of I fucking loved Thronebreaker. And if it was Thronebreaker...
Whoa, wait, hang on. Rather than playing... come into this?
So, in my head, when we were talking about this, and this is what I've written in my notes, is that it was...
We recruited more chess pieces as we went on, didn't we?
Exactly. So, it was literally... It was like a Thronebreaker-style overworld, but instead of playing Gwent, you're playing chess, but the chess has different rules because there are zombies involved. And again, I think like what Matt was saying about Gods Among Us, I feel like this is a brainstorm session away from being brilliant. Like,
I genuinely feel there's something amazing there. Oh my God!
There was so much to it.
Maybe this is a campaign.
I just don't listen. I just don't rate chess. I think it's a dweeb's game. I hate it.
Maybe this is what you play.
If you like chess, you deserve the most mega of wedgies. I mean. And that's coming from me, like an absolute geek. Even I look down on chess people.
Yeah, the victim of many wedgies says you deserve a wedgie.
Did the chess one win out of that episode? I can't remember.
No, it didn't. It was Stay Quiet, it's film time.
Yeah.
Of course it was the one where you had to eat in a funeral. That's obviously a better game.
I don't know why. Of course it was,
I remember you threw dirt on the coffin, but everyone else threw dirt on it, but you threw like Cocoa Pops or like crisp wrappers and stuff.
Packets, Oh, God.
All right.
Do any of those?
No, I don't think any of them do.
No.
All right, let's move on then to a guest pitch. This was Daph's pitch, and now this opened up with the most criminal of pitches, Hot Fuzz but Stardew Valley, and I immediately shut off this fucking idea.
It was witty,
for the rest of the episode. I was just trying to figure out what this was. Yeah, it was just now. Everyone keeps going back to this and saying it was an amazing game idea. Mm-hmm. And I just... we even got a tweet about it. This seems like, for the first time ever, Pitch Please has a good game idea. And I can't remember it as anything more than a Hot Fuzz mobile game that was supposedly very witty. And the only wit that we heard from it was no luck catching those swans then, which is just a line from Hot Fuzz.
He did emphasise how witty the writing would be, though.
But that's all he said. He never said how or why it's witty or even what you do in this game, except you're a police officer going through their day by day in a Tamagotchi-style police sim, but it's Hot Fuzz.
So,
Matthew wasn't here for this one, so I feel like we should
try. I will say, it sounds witty.
Apparently it is.
So it was like the basic idea was you're in a small little town, like maybe in Wales. In my head, it was Wales because of Daft, but it could be anywhere. But a small little town in the UK, and you play a small town copper, the titular small town copper. And while you're going through cop school, that's like your day job, right? You have to go into cop, but then you live in the town. And you have to you have to unfold. You have to like basically just do your job as a small town copper. So it starts off with like little bits of small town crime, petty theft or whatever, just stopping kids from smoking cigarettes, like going into the pub in the evening and talking to the residents about local rumors. But then as you progress through cop school, maybe you graduate or something, I don't know. And then you begin to unfold like slightly more serious crimes, like that. You know, it's got that LA noir style of, you know, you're getting promoted as you continue. But it all takes place.
It starts off quite whimsical, and you're like, you know, fun little countryside crimes, and then you graduate, and then you just have to deal with something really awful, and realise that you've actually signed up for like one of the sadder jobs you can have. Just really bleak.
Yeah, you have to go inform a family that they're. Oh my God, no! I don't want to say it.
That's like a mid-game twist. A real like.
I remember being very much in the camp of it should always be silly crimes and there should never be anything heavy. But then I think everybody else was like, no, definitely there's been a murder and
Needs
it's
to be
gruesome.
graphic.
What was it? A silly murder.
So just silly murders, just fun murders.
This man's been impaled by a pool noodle. And you're like, oh no.
What you run over by an ice cream van?
Yeah, I think stuff like and it could be stuff like that. But the idea is that you're like learning to become a cop and upgrading whatever, I don't know, talent tree or whatever it is through that. You're also nurturing your relationships with the members of the local community, and that part of it I thought was, I just love the idea of like rolling hills in like a lovely little Welsh valley. And you're cycling around on your little bicycle with a little bell.
Oh, yeah, you had a bike to begin with, and then you can upgrade to car, and then you can upgrade to horse because that is an all-terrain vehicle.
Yes, yeah, horse was the ultimate one. But yeah, just like chatting to all the different residents. Like I just thought that could be like a really cool little, I don't know, just like a fun little game, just living in that little town as a small town copper.
It was the Stardew Valley of police sims, whatever the fuck that means.
But without the farming.
It's isometric 2D and you can speak to NPCs. That's what Stardew Valley means in this instance.
I mean, does anyone got an idea of what this game is solid enough in their head that they want to fight for it? I thought I liked it.
I mean, I love Hot Fuzz,
I don't think it's
which
enough.
is what this game was.
Yeah.
To me, that's all it was.
All right. I mean,
watch Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, watch Hot Fuzz. It's great.
Sorry, Dav, but it looks like
watch that.
Just go and watch Hot Fuzz.
Cheers, Tom. Dav's crying.
I mean, I got nothing to say about that.
Got it coming. He's got it coming if he's going to give us an idea like that. All right.
Yeah, all right.
All right, look, moving on. Okay, we're getting quite close to the end now. The next game is 2 Point Hollywood. I don't know if anyone remembers this one. What this ended up being. Oh, sorry, go on.
I like this one.
Yeah. Well, do you want to? What do you remember of this, Matthew?
Well, I like this. This one had a sort of management element to it, but it was also about the kind of. Well, there was a version of this at some point in the episode where it was quite a lot about the personalities involved and the idea of like, you know, you weren't just managing fixed resources. It wasn't like too cold and clinical. There was like a human and personality element involved. So like, do you work with this like nightmare director who's going to make your life really difficult, but he may be a genius and make something brilliant? I thought there was some fun like wild card elements in there, which kind of, I'm not normally a management guy, but the idea of putting a more human face on all your units, I was kind of into that.
Yeah, I remember it being very Crusader Kingsy in that you're not controlling a nation, you're controlling a film studio, and you are trying to. There were things you could do where you could try and poach actors and directors from other studio nations and see the progress of their works and whatever else, and try and compete against them.
The films you made
like shady
became
stuff
like IP that like in the world. It became like a resource in the world that you could like barter and trade and try and hold on to.
Yeah.
I thought this was cool.
Yeah. For me, a kind of Crusader Kings light game framed in the golden age of Hollywood, that's something that I would, because Crusader Kings I get very overwhelmed by very quickly. I love the idea of it, but I just feel like an idiot.
What, just because of the theme or because of the gameplay?
I think like a bit of both. Not so much the gameplay actually, but the theme like history, I find it a little bit boring and a
It's
little
one of
bit
those
dry.
games where you go to like set up a church and then accidentally commit incest because you don't know the buttons.
No,
You're like,
I pressed the incest button again. I've got to rebind that.
why does it make? Why seriously? Why is the incest button the biggest button?
Yeah, so it's something that is like that style of gameplay, but just in Hollywood. Like I love the idea of that, and like I think when Matthew, when we would like during the episode when you started talking about like comparing it to like if these kings, instead of kings you have like the big moguls and stuff. I thought that was like a really good comparison. I think that is the kind of game I would want to play like that.
It's
excite
super
me.
niche. Like I think it takes. You have to be quite interested and invested
So it's
in
history, right?
in the film. Yeah, but you have to be interested in film, and that's like I think some people would probably find it a bit too low stakes because you're not like murdering anyone. It's just
You might be. You could hire out Hicks, right? It's
I
LA.
remember there were some, the golden age of Hollywood and all the darkness surrounding it. That it even says here, bribe the LAPD to look the other way at health and safety standards in your studio. Okay, actually, that's a really boring reason to bribe the LAPD.
I think, didn't we like the idea that they're building sets and then you'd see the sets collapse and then there'd be a whole like you see
we talked about
all the little
visualization
people
for a lot
running
of
around the
stuff.
studio.
It's like
yeah.
dead after set.
I think there is some darker things you can do in the game. Maybe a little bit darker than I didn't put a ladder up here. I'm not wearing hard hats.
All right, so is this? I personally like. Again, I really like the idea of just like Crusader Kings Hollywood. Like I think that's something that I would play. Maybe it is too niche, or like a light version of that stuff. I don't know. For me, if again, like I feel like that is not. I don't think it's. We were just reskinning it or anything. I think there is more to it than that. But I still feel like Gods Among Us has. I still feel like Gods Among Us has more than that.
Dangerously close to
It's close.
Crusader Kings, but Hollywood.
It is okay. Yeah, like it is close. But that's the thing. Yeah, but that's like I still would rather play Gods Among Us because of the extra stuff I think that we'd put on top of an already existing genre that is becoming quite tired, like the Deception Among Us style thing.
Fair enough.
How's everyone feeling about that? Like, what,
this was my favorite pitch of the year, I think.
Okay,
really?
Yeah.
Now, do you think it's the best game of the year, though?
Yeah, it's the one I can see. That's because it's a bit like something which maybe takes some marks off of that, but like I would. Of all the, I tend to come out of these episodes thinking like, I'm glad that doesn't exist. But just because
there's a reason why it doesn't exist.
On like as a professional, I'd be like, I wouldn't want to have to cross paths with that if that happened. But this one, I was like, I would actually like that.
I think there's a great idea here, but for me, it doesn't beat Gods Among Us.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough.
Well,
I think this next one has potential. I think this has some potential. It's a guest pitch as well. I didn't hate this one, and I think there is something that could be made from this one. I mean, Chris doesn't seem to be agreeing with that, but this is a Rythian pitch, the second time Rythian has pitched here, for Robo-like, which again, I can see how this is going to go. I don't think this is going to win because it's a game where it's a roguelite platformer where you control a robot and give him code to continue through the level.
You're sounding embarrassed.
It was node-based commands, so it was like if door, then open. And then I said, what happens if you put door both times? How do you door something?
If door, then door. That was another name of the game as well.
That was the idea, right? It would be fun. You could experiment.
To do the actions you didn't want to do along the way to make either the run quicker or, if, missile, then shield, then you can just ignore that and you don't have to react to those things because it will do it automatically for you. But you only have a certain amount of memory and you only have a certain amount of whatever the resource was that we had. Slots.
That was the key point, wasn't it? Is like you had to chain things together that normally wouldn't be great to chain because you only had a certain amount of slots. So it'd be like if jump, then shoot. And then you'd be like, well, if every time I jump and shoot, I might do some damage to some stuff I need. So it's just thinking of the best way to optimize your character but it's not a total like I'm not going to do anything. You are still running through the map. You are still.
But surely the concern here is unless there are hundreds of different things to combine, it'll just be super obvious what you meant to how to optimize it. Like,
yes, but I remember it being kind of Mega Man-ian style, where when you beat a level or you beat a hard area or whatever, you then gain the ability or gain the code, I suppose, or the node to put into the code to make that area easier again, or can revisit levels with new abilities and new things.
Metroidvania style.
This just sounds like how you do ability management in Nier Automata.
Yeah, I think we mentioned Nier.
You have a limited amount of space for chips, and the chips basically define like even the core moves of the character. This feels quite similar to that.
That's fair.
Wow.
But I did. Yeah. Okay. I mean, for me, I feel like I was struggling to see exactly what it was in terms of like the gameplay. Like what I really liked was having a node system in my head where I could like drag and drop things around and create basically a logic state that I could then equip. And but then for me, it was like, okay, so does that? I couldn't figure out if it would be a better game if you are equipping that, like doing all the logic first and then literally just hitting play and watching it, or if you're controlling the character to some extent.
I think you have to control the character. What's this? Yeah, this thing of like a game that you sit back and let it go. I just don't think that's as fun as people think it is in their heads.
In my head, it was a very much Metroid Dread style, but with Unreal Engine blueprints every now and again.
Okay.
So you do play it. Yeah. It's just that there are certain actions that you can automate, but you still have to physically like move and shoot, but you can just do some reactionary ones automatically.
For me, it was also just that combination of things, having to remember that if you double jump, you're going to drop a bomb as well because of the limited number of slots that you've got. And seeing those actions play out on screen, seeing your little bits of code sort of running. I thought there was definitely something there that would be quite fun. A real challenge, to construct it in such a way that you couldn't cheese the entire game, or, delivering enough blocks of code early on that it's engaging straight away. Mm-hmm. But I really like the idea. I think that's like puts a nice spin on the traditional Metroidvania kind of game. I really feel like it could be like it's one of those games that I feel like it could be a real challenge to make into like a good game. Like it would take a lot of work, but to me it feels like there is something there in a way that is a game that I haven't played before.
It's very, very easy to like visualize this game existing. Like even just like the sort of buzzwords around it feel like the kind of the words which are in play a lot in like indie games. There's a lot of a bit of this, a bit of roguelike. Oh, and it's a bit like the Gambit system from like Final Fantasy 12. It's like let's mix that together and boop, off you go. I feel like it doesn't exist as far as I know, but I sort of feel like it does in a way. But I don't know if that just speaks to the fact that it's like not doable. I'm not saying like, oh, it'd be easy. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about with that regard. But I feel like I could see it in a screenshot. Like,
yeah. Okay, but does that make it?
No.
Game of the year?
No, it doesn't beat Gods Among Us for me.
No.
I'm not saying it's a bad game by any stretch, but Gods Among Us is so much more elegant.
I think if someone decided to undertake the grueling task of trying to make this development nightmare, then more power to them. And I think that whatever result they come out with, if they manage to put it together in a conceivable way that is somewhat playable and interesting, I feel like it could be very, very cool. It could also be just awful. Like there's a very fine line between is this actually fun? And it strikes me as something that someone would start making and get months and months and months into it, and then just realize, actually, this kind of sucks.
It's not working. Yeah.
And they'll just scrap it. It sounds like a scrapped game. And that doesn't mean it's bad. I think it's got potential, but I think it would take a very particular type of development process to make it slightly fun. I don't know. Maybe. Not Gods Among Us, though.
Okay, so not a resounding not Gods Among Us means that we then move on to the penultimate game of the year, which is titled Postman Pat Must Die. I'm not entirely sure why we came up with that as a title, but
No, I don't remember.
I don't remember. It's not one of mine, Alex.
the elevator
This was
pitch
a
for
month
this
ago, by the way. A month ago.
that I have down here is Overcooked meets Walmart's Warehouse. The idea being that you are a post person who works in a post office, and there are like two main elements to the game where you're getting in. Your shift starts at midnight or whatever, and you're getting deliveries pumped in to your warehouse, where you have to arrange a bunch of stuff and get them ready to then deliver out into your town as soon as doors open, first thing 6 a.m. or whatever. So the clock's running, and then as soon as you go out, deliveries are still coming through, but then you have to drive a vehicle or ride your bike or whatever, post all these things, and get back to continue managing your warehouse. And the idea is that the post is just constantly stacking up. There probably would be a multiplayer element to it, so that there's like communication between that, maybe. And there was also some kind of sports game element in there where you would.
Oh no, that was at the very end of the episode. I was like, oh, "But what if? Oh, huh? What if?" And I don't think anyone picked up on that.
There was
Chris?
also like different things you could buy. So you could buy like a delivery drone. So you could give a package,
Yes.
it would fly away. It would do it passively. And same with the warehouse side of things. There was like, here's an automated little robot that will pick up a parcel. They'll do it at a rate.
But not as well.
It means that, whilst you're away delivering stuff, there is a passive element of someone else doing things for you, which I really liked.
Yeah.
Which I think, if you're having to spend money on certain things, it makes you think about how you want to say, oh, what if I get loads of these delivery robots? Well, then all of a sudden you've got loads of things stacked up waiting to be delivered, and they've been received and packaged. I can't remember if you had to fetch the item from the shelves to then. I think it was orders, wasn't it, that came in eventually?
I feel like I imagined this as
side of things.
I imagined it as like so many different. It was a party game, but you weren't like Overcooked in the same room. You were in separate departments of the thing, where one room is asking for this thing on this shelf in this warehouse over here. So that person has to run off there and grab that thing and run back and throw it into this room. That person then has to package it, put it into the delivery van. The driver then goes off and does that thing. A little bit of a split screen nightmare because everyone's in different places entirely and playing different games entirely.
It would all just be online.
I think we decided each person would have their own screen and it's just online. And it had an element of like plate up to it where, someone's in the warehouse doing that and then giving people their post, and they would go and I've got to go to the blue house number 6 or whatever.
Yeah, there was a whole color coded element of the town, wasn't there? So you'd have the blue area, blue house 10.
But not color coded.
Not color coded, symbol coded.
Oh, sorry, not color coded.
How dare you? The accessibility hack came out that day.
Icon coded.
Icon coded, yeah.
Okay.
And that was a part of it where, I mean, let's ignore accessibility for a second and just say like, oh, you have to get the yellow package with the circle on it and the number 2 written on it, and that's how you kind of did all these deliveries.
Yeah. You would have to essentially plan the most efficient route based on what deliveries you have for that day. But then also there might be like post boxes around town, so you would have to also do collections as well and bring them back. So the actual post office itself might have an ingoing and outgoing of like almost going the opposite direction. So you're bringing in post from the town that you then have to send out elsewhere, which is dealt just by you just literally just put it into a hatch and it goes or whatever. But the idea being that it's just constantly, the post is constantly coming, it's constantly building up, and you just have to keep on top of it or it very quickly falls apart. So that that's the game. Matthew, you weren't there for that one, I believe. Maybe I'm wrong. What does that sound like from your perspective, as someone who didn't hear it at the time?
It's not quite my cup of tea. I'm not. It sounds a bit busy for me.
But it was meant to be. It was very busy.
Well, that's the thing.
Hectic,
Yeah, like I'm not like a big Wilmot's Warehouse guy either. Like that kind of whatever skills those games are tapping into, that it doesn't particularly.
Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of stress isn't what I personally want from games.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it seems like a well-rounded, a fine idea, or a fine example of a nightmare.
Nice. I can go on the bot. Yeah, I mean, I see it as something that I like the idea of it as a game. I don't know if I would play it once or twice. I don't think it's something that I would have play a lot. Just because, again, like I'm not super into that kind of game, but it does sound kind of, I don't know, it sounds kind of fun, like being able to build up your warehouse and automate things.
I like that you could have the different roles. So someone could, I'm in the warehouse today, I'm going to help you do this. No, you go out and do the post, and there's a lot of communication there. There's some fun to be had with having silly vehicles. I think we mentioned totally reliable delivery service at the end of the episode where you could have, I'm going to take the helicopter, or I'm going to take the bike, or I'm just doing a paper round or whatever. So I think there's a lot of fun to be had with it. I quite liked the idea. It is a bit more manic than I think even we're imagining it would be. It would soon stack up as being like, oh my God, this is just a hellscape of parcels. But I don't know. I think there's definitely something to it. It doesn't beat Gods Among Us.
Yeah, I mean, it would very dangerous. It would go very dangerously close to. Oh, we've got 4 people about to play Postman Pat Must Die. What do you want to be? Oh, I want to be the warehouse guy. That one's really fun. Hey, you're the delivery driver again. But that's the worst one. Well, fuck, I guess for the next 30, 45 minutes, I'm just bored as hell because I'm a delivery driver again. Why does everyone hate me so much? Why do you give me this role? Let me have fun with this game. I'm just going to uninstall it. Fuck you guys.
There are worse people to be in the Postman Pat universe, like Mrs. Goggins.
Don't even know who that is.
What a loser.
Who the fuck is Mrs.
You can
Goggins?
just tell from her name that she's lived a cursed existence.
All right, so it looks like we've made our way through the entire list but one.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
we've
the
not
last
found
one,
anything.
again, just Overcooked but Royal Mail. The Stardew Valley of postal delivery
Royal
service,
Mail.
whatever the fuck that means.
Yeah, it was the Stardew Valley of Overcooked.
Yeah, but the final one, just 2 weeks ago, we should remember this very well. Is Batter Royale. Get it? Get it?
Paul Hollywood eats some concrete. Greg Wallace, LA Noir style face. You know that guy.
Full concrete with a concrete and mustard cake.
The 100-person battle royale, Great British, not Bake Off, baking show
Concrete off. Brick off.
takes hours and hours to complete, where maybe or maybe not you stack showstoppers on top of each other, but that just means you build a concrete mustard block to feed to Paul Hollywood. I mean, that's the game.
You sound enthralled by the idea, Tom. That's.
I think towards the end, it got to a point where I was imagining it as a Cook Serve Delicious, again, kind of hectic, kind of stressful, where I mean, Cook Serve Delicious is, this, you press A and that does the almonds on top of the thing, and you press D and that puts the dishwashers in the dishwasher. And it's almost like a typing game where you're pressing things so quickly and trying to manage all of these different things going on top of each other. And this was, I guess, like a party version of that, where you are competing in Bake Off and building maybe 3 stages of different foods to
There was a
present to
design
some LA Noire judges?
I
element
don't
of
think
it.
there was much consensus on this one. I think we all saw it as a very different game, and we were all quite enamored with our own version of it.
Yeah.
There was like a mad physicsy thing. There was like a Jackbox kind of comedy design thing. There was a weird social deduction game you had to work out which chefs were lying about what food Paul Hollywood
And
liked to eat.
there was the rumor round as well, where you talk to the other contestants. I heard Paul Hollywood likes bones was one of them.
That's right. Yeah,
I think
that
I
over
suggested
after
some
2 weeks.
WarioWare elements, style stuff,
Yeah.
like mini games for things.
Cooking Mama,
I mean,
that was in there too.
If this game had been like, now that I think about it, if it was stripped back and simplified to Paul Hollywood sat at a table on his own, and you had to make things to feed him and then watch his reactions, I think I would quite like to play that. I think that could be quite fun. Just based on all the different ingredients you had.
With Paul Hollywood.
Yeah. I'm going to feed Paul Hollywood some nails. Let's see what his face looks like after
micro
that.
expressions.
Yeah.
We have to book Paul Hollywood in for months. Not to actually in real life feed him these things, but just for his acted reactions to all of the different various combinations of foods we can give him.
You'd have to film his face eating every substance on Earth.
That's
so
true.
you can get an accurate version of
That's
it.
true.
His face makes it look like there's a lot of umami flavour in that. He's like, what's Paul Hollywood's umami face?
Okay, Paul, we're on to day 56 of recordings, but today you get to eat a lasagna. Oh, with nails in.
it. And then, woke up a handshake at the end, and it's all good.
Yeah, that's it.
I know that, but the handshake was a QuickTime event as well that you can miss.
It was. Yeah.
He holds it out, and you can choose not to do it for ages.
Yeah.
And it just starts trembling.
Press F to shake Paul's Hollywood. Paul's hand.
Paul hand,
Paul's Hollywood.
Paul's Hollywood.
Shake his Hollywood.
That's where my brain went. Yeah,
That's something else. All right.
it's been long.
Does anyone like this over anything?
I don't think there's any solid idea of what this game was. It was so many different games. It was there's already somehow we managed to conjure up memories of all these different cooking games that we'd all forgotten about. Cooking Sim, Cooking Mama, and Cook Serve Delicious. And then just remembered, actually, is this just the MasterChef DLC for Cooking Sim, which does exist?
We've done it again.
Before we call it, is there, looking back through this list, is there anything?
Are there any regrets? Anything you want to change about your decisions?
Lots of regrets.
Other than, all right, there's plenty of regrets. And I'll take now to apologize for all of them. But at the moment, it's looking like Gods Among Us. Does anyone else have any potential? Do you want to shout to stop this from happening before I mean,
I'm a big. I liked Alien Irrigation, but I said it was close at the time, and I'm happy for Gods Among Us to beat Alien Irrigation.
Let's go through and see everyone's second choice. Like, if it wasn't Gods Among Us, what else did you like? What else stuck out to you this year? Tom, what about you?
Thronebreaker meets chess in a zombie world.
Oh, that was good.
I do like that. I think if it had a campaign mode, I'll take all the wedgies for saying I like this.
The most violent wedgie. It would literally cut your body in half.
I would play this game. I would play this game while receiving a swirly, and I'll be happy about it. I think it's not even a unique take on chess. It is just chess puzzles, but with a nice theme. And recruiting and upgrading your chess pieces, I think, could be really, really fun. Maybe when you upgrade your knight so that when you put that L move down, it's still just a knight move, but also it explodes when you land, and that could be really fucking cool. I don't think it's going to have an intriguing story, but there could be loads of little chess puzzles in there of how to defeat the zombie horde, and build your little army. And I think that could be really cool. Maybe halfway through the game you're like, you know what, this bishop just ain't doing it for me. Fuck the bishop. And
no bishops.
You replace them with many queens, and towards the end of the game,
pawns.
your entire board, it's all pawn. All pawn. So I think there could be a game in there, and I feel like someone's going to make it and not Not fucking credit me at all.
All right, look, I'm with you, Tom. I think that would be my. If it wasn't Gods Among Us, it would be that. It would be Thronebreaker Chess. Chris,
I actually agree. I really liked Alien Irrigation.
Holy shit!
But I did. I think even at the time I was offering a lot of suggestions and ideas because I was actually genuinely excited by the idea.
Wow.
Oh, Matt! I think I heard Matt sigh.
He came into the episode and he said chess and he said the zombie. And then we're all like, oh, it's a masterpiece. Give me a break. He completely phoned it in.
It's every week.
There was no courtroom involved. That's fair enough. All right, Matthew, what would yours be? What's your
mine
personal
would be
pick?
2 Point Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Just
fair enough.
I could see it. I think it would be fun. I think the film stuff is an interesting layer of like sort of drama. It'd be cool.
All right. Well, okay. It's not 2 Point Hollywood. It's not Thronebreaker Chess.
It's not Alien Irrigation. The winner is it's the social deduction god game mixed with dread hunger, make trees bleed, and
talk through
make out with
babies.
snakes. You can do it in this game too. And possess a baby to talk to a crowd of people, all trying to decide: are you the devil? Are you the actual god? They have
You
to
an
decide who do we banish at the end of the game, and do we all win as a result? In a cool, fresh, unique Among Us 2 with gods. Gods Among Us is the winner of the Pitch Please 2021 Game Award.
Sorry. Well done, everyone.
A little bit more fucking energy, Jesus.
I'm sorry to every guest that appeared this year.
We win again. We win again.
We've
They
won
should be
again. It looks like
apologising to
we
us.
just. it looks like we just have the best ideas. And
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
that's not our fault. Look,
Wait, hang on. Was Gods Among Us? Whose idea was that?
I
Alex's.
don't know.
Was it
Is it mine?
Alex's?
Oh, he says I don't know.
Yes. Oh God, I couldn't possibly
himself
know.
on
Yeah, I
back.
mean,
I have
listen,
no
I
clue.
feel like we all contributed a lot to it. I think his original thing was like something about gods, asymmetric, and it involves gods.
Yes, yeah. It was more Rust. It was more Rust with the asymmetric multiplayer side of it. It's not
Well-
what it ended up being.
You gave us a piece of marble and we chiseled out a fucking masterpiece. The winner of the year. Now, I guess last year's winner was, of course, Pitch Please, the board game. Where, now just to recap, it was like 5 different games in one. 3 decks of cards, idea, theme, and mechanic. In play it like a party game. That was it. I can't remember what else it was.
If we had actually made this into a card game, I would be fighting for it right now. But the fact that it's been a year and we haven't makes me
We
think.
haven't made it yet. I mean, we're not going to make Gods Among Us, are we?
You okay? Yeah, fair. But I feel like we were pretty jazzed about the idea of doing it. And
what? We
I
were.
can't quite remember what it is now. Although fair enough, it has been a year. But I just want to play a video game. God, I want to play Gods
a
Among
damn
Us.
game. Also, we're in lockdown right now. We can't play board games, idiot.
We can't play in person. It's not going to look. Surely it has to be Gods Among Us, right? Is
I
anyone
agree.
else? Is anyone
It's Gods Among Us, for
There you
sure.
go, the game of Pitch Please. Gods
the
Among
game
Us.
of PP? Gods Among Us.
Greatest of all
Holy shit.
time.
We've
The PP Goat.
not
The goat-
not
the goat
to detract
the
at all.
goat
from-
Why
not
didn't
to
I say
detract
that?
from the Matthew Castle universe, but look,
That's fine.
they're still great. It's just there hasn't come a time yet where we've had the perfect game from the MCU that's going to tie it all together.
That's all right. That's fine. I know it is.
Maybe that's gonna happen in year 19.
After the comments from the last year's one, he's really aggressively just been like, no, it's cool. I'm okay with this. I'm totally
cool,
chill.
reasonable dude.
He doesn't want to get wedges.
Don't shit on me in the comments, guys. I'm fine.
Thank you for sticking with us this year and listening to all the guest shit ideas and all of our incredible ones by the sounds of it.
All those
maybe we'll
filler
have
episodes in between the Pitch Please originals.
maybe we'll have some more guests back next year. maybe we just won't fucking bother because it looks like we're coming up with the gold.
We're tapped out.
But yeah, like at some point we're going to get tapped out. So we're going to have to start relying on guests.
Or fuck it, we'll just come up with themes and just add Stardew Valley to it because apparently that's working.
Yeah, Gods Among Us, Stardew Valley of Deception Games is
whatever the fuck that means.
Is the GOAT PP. Thank you for listening to us for 2 full years now. Matthew, thank you for joining us way more regularly this year.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
It's been a delight. And guys, thank you as always. And I guess we'll see you in the next year.
We'll see you next year. Next year.
Thank you. Holy shit, this has been 2 hours. Fucking hell.
I know. Right. I desperately need the toilet.
All right. Look, well, if you disagree with our idea of the GOAT PP of 2021, then let us know on Twitter at Pitch Please Pod without any vowels. And let us know if you have any fantastic new game ideas. We are fucking desperate.
We really are, please.
Please, if you want this to carry on.
Thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next year.
Bye.
Goodbye. Bye.
Maybe.